Hey Aaron, thanks for joining us today. Really excited to be talking with you about your insights. So when we started on the Elite Minds journey, you came in as a coach, is that right?
Yeah, I was really lucky to be involved with my club as a coach, but also through the Future Development Program at Basketball Tasmania. So I saw it come up on Clubs Tasmania and watched the link and thought, I know that face, and thought what a great opportunity to help young people, because I feel like, there was so many things all being done in those sporting club sense, but to put that through a school for younger people, develop their mindset earlier would be a great opportunity.
Yeah, so we worked together, which was super exciting, and you've been instrumental in being able to help Elite Minds come through into a school environment. What have you seen have been the sort of the shifts in the sense of using the Elite Minds material?
I think it's the language around trying to get young people to think about the impact of their thoughts, and understanding that, particularly a lot of young people are pretty self-deprecating, and adults can be too, and to try and shift that mindset around that to be more positive and to think about the great things and to make decisions around the way in which they think. So we hope that trying to do it with our grade 9s, and it's always a tricky time in life being a grade 9, but that will pay off, particularly in those tricky years of year 11 and year 12.
And having gone through the material yourself, where have you, noticed the shifts for yourself?
I think for me, it's easy to get caught up in the busyness of life and those kind of things, and to realise that we are incredibly lucky, and those thoughts are impacting me in many, not probably physically as well as mentally, and to try to shift that around ways in which I can make the most of the great opportunities and shift my mindset.
So how would you have noticed your negative talk in the past?
I think it's all around busyness, around juggling family and work, pressures associated with that, and instead trying to look at what a blessed job that I have, the people that I work with, and that I do have an ability to make a great impact, and that's a really fantastic way. Also use it to prioritise the things that are important for me. Work is work, but I'm a dad, number one, and a husband, and that's the things I need to make sure that I have those times and focus on that.
Yeah, beautiful. And in the sense of how you're with coaching as well, how do you feel it's changed having this material as how you are showing up as a coach?
I think, look, literally on the weekend, I coached a bunch of 11 and 12-year-old girls in the northwest coast, and they didn't win a game, which is always a challenge when you go away. But I think for me, it's just around consistently thinking about, hey, leave that last action behind, stop dwelling, let's focus on the things that we can control. Be positive. The key words that I use as a coaching technique for them to focus on are the key things we do through basketball, and get them to focus on a bit of a next play mentality, which is just a full mindset shift and not dwelling on what just happened.
Yeah, and so, I mean, you've been in the coaching world and obviously played sport all the way through for yourself. What do you, for me, when I brought this up, most of the training has been focused on physical training.
Yeah.
And you're starting to duck and weave that into a lot of what you do. What do you feel your shift's been there?
I think it makes such a difference, because young people's confidence is probably the stepping stone for getting them to achieve anything else. So being able to just to recognise when things in their mind are not working with them, and to go, okay, well, how do we then shift that and make sure those thoughts are more positive, and how's that going to help you make that next step? So I think it's been a huge shift, and for me personally, for a person, when I played sport, confidence was a thing that was like a yo-yo, and to think about, well, that's probably many young people feel the same, both in their learning but also in a sporting sense. So how can you pick up when those dips are happening straight away and shift those thoughts as quick as possible?
Awesome. So talk to me about habits, because you're already great with your habit setting, aren't you?
Yeah, I think I'm a very routine person. Even being a teacher in school holidays, for me, something I find tricky. I like to have things set out, which helps me cope. And whether that's, for me, being an adult now, I have management skills through my online calendar and all those kind of things to help. But for the young people, I think that's something that they desperately need. They don't realise their school day is quite routine and somewhat habitual in parts, but trying them to build up those habits to help them for years 11 and year 12 is a huge challenge. And I think everyone, particularly as a 15-year-old, they're on that stage of development when some are ready to make that step, and some are somewhat resistant, because it is challenging to do sometimes things that you don't want to do, but understanding that by setting the foundation pieces and building those things in, you get that motivation, and then and then things become easier.
Yeah.
So we certainly did a lot of work with our young people on study habits in particular. Obviously, you know, it's hard in year 9, but building in towards years 10, 11 and 12, and then other habits around their general well-being. You know, what are they doing with their phone? What's their sleep cycle like? Nutrition. It's easy to fall back and, you know, go and jump on something that isn't as nutritional as it could be. So yeah, trying to do all of those aspects, and finding for each student what's the one area they think they need to improve or get a better habit in.
And that was one of the key things through the Elite Minds program that we really focused on in developing habits. And I think, you know, the one that you named off his phones was such a key one that they wanted to shift and change, because they were aware of the doom scrolling and what they were doing, but also the awareness, I think, for teachers and for adults and parents that, you know, we all know that we're picking up that phone, you know, way more, but knowing what it is that we know that we, you know, should stop, but we keep doing it. And I think that's the same from a habit that's a negative habit or a positive habit as well, but knowing that you've got the control and you've got the choice, but knowing that if we can get those habits in alignment with our goals, then, you know, that's the aim, and working on 1 or 2 habits at a time. So, and
not being self-deprecating, you know, if you're on your phone, like, hey, we fall back into that trap. I'm still guilty of it now, but to go, hey, rightio, that doesn't align with what I want to do. I need to shift that and create a better habit. And, you know, again, for our year 9s, that's a big challenge. There's lots of social media laws even now that's trying to force that upon them, which is another challenge they have. But, you know, for us, it's about hopefully building that foundation that sets them up for success.
Yeah. And in the sense of the program itself coming in and coming to the school for the first time, and, you know, we as human beings are creatures of habit. And I know that through the program, you know, we've shared about crossing arms and being disruptive and doing things in a different way. You know, the resistance from the kids, resistance from the teachers, you know, what have we had to navigate through?
I think anytime we do something new, there's this uncertainty and there's this element of, you know, what am I going to lose? Am I losing class time? Am I getting more homework, whatever it might be? And with our whole year 9 program, there's been elements of that all the way through. So for us, we were about what's an add-on, what's going to make a difference for our young people. And I think we saw a huge, particularly early on, knowing that you've worked with the TIS and things like that. That was for a lot of our sporty young athletes, that was wow, what an opportunity. They were all guns blazing, cool, and wanting to have separate Zooms with yourself on top of the program, which was amazing. On the other side, you know, other students going, being a bit hesitant in that space, and even staff, you know, not having a full understanding or even ownership. I know for me, you know,
you were all in.
I was all in, but also it's easy to say that and then to actually live it, you know, to stop the habit on your phone, to understand that those negative thoughts about I'm always busy, you know, that's a challenging thing. So it's not an easy concept, and people take time to develop that. And I think we saw a range within our staff and our students of that, but as things progressed, particularly when it was more embedded, I feel I made a difference, and I think we'll see the outcomes in years 10, 11 and 12, which will make a difference.
And I think that is the trickier piece, isn't it, from a year 9, and it is that age where, you know, I'm not quite sure what I'm doing next or what my goals are or where I'm at. So being able to plant the seeds there about being able to shift and create thinking and awareness is really what we're focusing on, in the sense of, well, why do I do the things that I do? And if I don't like that, can I shift and change it? And the answer is yes, but knowing that we have a choice around the thought. So I think we've talked about as well, you know, it's, you know, the phrases and the words where I said to you straight away, let's shift this busyness, but it's understanding the energy underneath it of that pressure of that's your normal operating way. Well, it's been, but I didn't know I could do things differently. And so coming from the kids' point of view of learning that at a younger age, of being calm and relaxed, knowing that if I'm calm and relaxed, then I can stay in my frontal, you know, lobe of my brain, my thinking brain, versus kind of going back to my almond brain because I'm stressed and I'm overwhelmed and I can't think clearly. So, you know, for me, that's probably one of the biggest, you know, habits I'd love everyone to develop, because, you know, where we're relaxed and we can come from a place of responding rather than reacting.
Look, I'm an emotional human, so I fall back into that easy. So that's part of the recognition. I think for me, it was the vision boards as well for our young people. I think that was a real key point for them to go, these are the incredible goals, dreams, aspirations I have. But gee, some of these things that I'm thinking are putting blockers to that. You know, and hey, that's okay, that's normal, but shift that mindset, because you can achieve these things. But you've got, you know, being at a school like this, you've got every opportunity but you need to give yourself a break and think clearly and make good choices.
And I think one of the key things I loved was in sharing some stories around one of the teachers who'd been delivering this material actually then took it out into their science classes and took it out into other areas. So she was starting to embed using the Elite Minds program across, rather than it just being in an isolated.
I think that's got to be the most successful way, and I think it's communicating with families, because we do have, I can speak from a family that's got some fixed mindset people in my family, so you know, the communication, those language, those words being used in all aspects, you know, from classrooms to the class, but also, you know, if your coaches are saying the same thing and your parents, well, you know, those messages become embedded and it changes the way you think.
Cool. So you and I have come across this material much later in life around mindset, and you know, it's so good that, you know, the school here is, you know, investing in, you know, those Year 9 students at this point in time. What would you have said to your 15-year-old self?
Jeepers.
Yeah, I know, knowing that what we know now from that mindset.
I think certainly for me, that's always the exciting thing when I think about this and thinking how lucky these young people are. But for me, look, you know, jeepers, it's a hard time being a 15-year-old. And I think you are consistently doubting everything you do. You're worried about what people think. You're not sure. It's probably more challenging for our young people these days around their pathways. Are they ever going to own a house? All of this uncertainty. So for me, it's around, you know, letting that young person know it's going to be okay. You have all the supports that you need. Shift that mindset. You can achieve incredible things, but you've just got to give yourself that chance. Be calm. Use those positive affirmations, those positive things in your mind to achieve your goals. And yeah, I wish that someone had said it to me. I had some incredible teachers that were amazing for me at that age, but I don't think I truly understood the power of your brain and the impact of your thoughts. And I think that our young people will hopefully, that'll pay off for them for years to come.
So I'm thinking a bit like you and I, like, I wish that I'd probably known that I didn't have to put so much pressure on myself. Like, if I could have taken that away and come from the place of, actually, this is going to be working out. I am good enough. This is going to play out. I might make mistakes, but I'm going to be able to shift through this, versus owning that and not allowing myself to, you know, in that fixed mindset you were talking about, the impact of how debilitating that can be for a young person that then, you know, goes through into for us later in life to be able to shift, because it's way easier to shift this the younger that you are.
Definitely. There's a blame, I think. It's easy to blame others at that age and to try and take no responsibility. And instead, this is why I think it's a great time for our young people at 14, 15. They're crying out for responsibility and to be treated as a young adult, and to have control over the way in which you think and the way in which you act is really quite a mature aspect of that adults have. So here's a stepping stone for them to go, I'm learning some of these skills and I'm going to, you know, use them to help me out and gain success.
Yeah, I love that you brought up about that blame and responsibility. I think one of the most rewarding presentations I did with the kids was talking about this. And at the very end of it, after I'd done a mindset presentation, this young girl came up. She would have been 15, and she said to me, "Rach, can you help me take responsibility? Because I realise that I blame everybody else for my mistakes." And I'd like to know how to be able to take that on myself. And I'm like, wow, that's so insightful.
And courageous.
And courageous and vulnerable at the age of 15 to be able to know that. There's adults beyond that haven't even got there. And for me, that's the impact of understanding the mindset, because it's causing people to actually think how they're showing up. You know, what am I doing that's creating the results that I don't want?
So I think you've got that option, the people that are courageous enough to put their hand up. There's probably an outlier to some degree. It's probably the opposite ones that go, right, I'm just going to go and fall back into that distraction, jump back onto their phone or their laptop, or put their earbuds in and forget that, you know, that it's actually a challenge, instead of going, you know what, I've got some control over this and I can make positive choices.
Yeah, and it's great, like, I think in the sense of how we've got the ripple effect going through the school, that when it starts to be embedded as something that is just across everything, that I'm really excited about what that's going to create for.
I think that's our really, for me, that's the exciting part for this year. I think we're going to spread some of the concepts out to give them a greater time to go, right, let's lock in on this with the classroom teachers, with the parents, so students have that, and then they, instead of going rapidly through the program.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you so much for your time today. I'm so grateful for you and for being able to have to be able to work together in this way, to be able to share the material.
I'm just excited about this year. I think that we dipped our toe in the water last year with our young people, and I think it made a big difference, but I think the potential is even greater, and I look forward to 2026.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
Thanks.